The Galactic Combat Academy occupied the hollowed-out moon of a gas giant in what sentient species collectively agreed was the most boring sector of the Orion Arm. Architecturally, it resembled what might happen if brutalism mated with a nuclear bunker, and their offspring developed a superiority complex, function over form. Though the function appeared to be intimidate everyone who approached. Combat Master Zethvox adjusted the atmospheric controls with 3 of his appendages while signing administrative forms with the other 2. The latest batch of students had arrived, representing 27 species considered relevant enough for advanced combat training. Most were the usual suspects: reptilians with natural armor, aquatics with distributed nervous systems, crystalline beings impervious to standard weapons, the typical collection of evolutionary advantages that made their respective species dominant predators on their home worlds. And then there was the human. Student classification processing complete, chirped the system. All 27 candidates categorized. 28, corrected Zethvox without looking up. System shows 27 qualifying combat specimens. The human passed the entrance requirements. The AI paused. The human has been classified as Observer Section, Minimal Threat Assessment. Zethvox finally looked up from his forms. That would be correct if we followed standard protocol. However, the diplomatic corps insists we extend full student status. Apparently, humans have infested enough systems to warrant political consideration. Through the observation window, he watched the gathering of new recruits. The humans stood apart, notably shorter than most species present. No claws, no visible natural weapons, soft skin without scales or plates. A biological joke compared to the others. Braxthorn, this year's obvious champion-to-be, towered at the center of the gathering. 9 feet of evolved hunting perfection from the Death World Nexus 6. 4 arms ending in retractable talons, a secondary heart for combat situations, and reflexes rapid enough to dodge projectile weapons. The Academy had seen his type before. Apex predators from worlds where everything evolved to kill everything else. Braxthorn gestured toward the human while speaking to a group of similarly impressive specimens. The universal translators converted his guttural language. Expected more, honestly. Their propaganda suggests formidable warriors. This one looks like prey. The gathered aliens rumbled with their species-specific versions of laughter. The human showed no reaction. She stood examining the combat arena specifications displayed on a holoscreen, seemingly unaware or unconcerned with the attention. Combat Master Zethvox activated the announcement system. Assembly in Primary Combat Hall. Tournament orientation begins in 6 units. The students moved toward the larger chamber. Braxthorn deliberately brushed past the human, a dominance display so common among predator species that the psychology curriculum dedicated an entire module to it. The human sidestepped smoothly, maintaining precisely the minimum distance necessary to avoid contact. Interesting. Not a flinch or challenge response, just efficiency. In the assembly hall, Zethvox outlined the tournament rules. Combat trials begin tomorrow. The format progresses through elimination rounds until 1 champion remains. Academy sensors will prevent fatal damage, but pain blockers remain disabled. Victory comes through submission, incapacitation, or tactical superiority. The gathered species displayed their cultural indicators of enthusiasm. Crest extensions, bioluminescent flashing, pheromone releases that triggered emergency ventilation protocols. Matchups are determined by threat assessment and compatibility algorithms. First rounds appear on your personal interfaces now. A collective checking of devices, then a ripple of confusion. An 8-limbed molluscoid raised a tentacle. Instructor, There must be a system error. The human appears in the competitive bracket. That is correct. But humans are classified as non-combative diplomatic species, objected a silicon-based entity. Their threat assessment places them below maintenance drones. Braxthorne stepped forward. I volunteer to face this specimen first. A demonstration might prove educational for everyone. Zethvox consulted his interface. The algorithm has other plans. The human faces Delegate Murshal in round 1. You, Braxthorne, begin against Delegate Foros. Braxthorne's upper lip curled back, revealing serrated teeth. Perhaps we'll meet in later rounds, human. I look forward to demonstrating proper combat techniques. The human glanced up from her interface, making direct eye contact with the massive predator. No challenge display, no submission gesture, no species-typical response whatsoever. Just observation, followed by a slight adjustment to her stance. The diplomatic brief had mentioned that humans were supposedly adaptable. Perhaps that meant behaviorally as well as environmentally. Or perhaps this one simply failed to grasp the danger. Either way, tomorrow would prove enlightening. Zethvox dismissed the assembly with a final announcement. Pre-tournament social gathering begins in 20 units. Attendance mandatory. The Academy believes understanding potential opponents constitutes half of combat preparation. As the delegates dispersed, Zethvox noticed the human lingering, studying the combat arena specifications with unusual intensity. Probably searching for emergency exits, he thought. Smart move under the circumstances. The pre-tournament gathering occupied a biodome designed to accommodate multiple environmental preferences simultaneously. Desert-dwelling species basked under heat lamps, while aquatics floated in saline pools. Ambient temperature fluctuated across the chamber, creating pockets of habitability for each delegation. Explain again why that creature warranted inclusion, demanded Delegate Foros, a crystalline being whose translucent body refracted light into dazzling patterns. My research indicates their world possesses moderate gravity, temperate climate, and negligible evolutionary pressures. Professor Zell, the Academy's xenobiologist, sighed through his respiratory spiracles. He'd answered variations of this question 17 times already. Humans represent an anomaly worth studying. Their development suggests environmental adaptation should have created specialized traits, yet they evolved as generalists. Generalists make mediocre specialists, commented Ambassador Trill, whose segmented exoskeleton clicked softly as she sampled a fermented protein cube. One cannot excel at everything. The human stood near a viewport overlooking the gas giant, nursing a container of synthesized water. Several delegates had attempted conversation, only to receive minimal responses. This apparent rudeness generated even more discussion about human inadequacies. Their communication style lacks proper deference markers, noted a hover-suspended brain housed in a preservation field, primitive language structure. Their planet harbors millions of venomous carnivorous and parasitic organisms, added a delegate comprised entirely of symbiotic bacteria, collectively forming humanoid shape. Yet, humans possess no natural defenses. Puzzling evolutionary strategy. Braxton snorted, expelling twin jets of steam through modified nasal cavities. No mystery. They simply failed to evolve properly. Natural selection abandoned them. The gathered delegates shifted focus as Combat Master Zethvox entered, accompanied by the Academy's senior staff. The traditional pre-tournament address followed, covering expected platitudes about honorable combat and representing one species with dignity. As formal proceedings concluded, Braxthorne seized the moment. He crossed the biodome with deliberate strides, positioning himself directly in the human's visual field. Your species intrigues me, he announced loudly enough for all delegates to hear. Particularly your persistence despite obvious biological shortcomings. The human turned from the viewport, expression neutral. Congratulations on your preliminary matchup. Delegate Foros possesses impressive defensive capabilities. Braxthorne blinked his nictitating membranes, momentarily thrown by the non sequitur. Crystalline beings shatter when struck with precise force. Every predator knows this. An interesting perspective. You misunderstand. I offer professional courtesy, an exchange of tactical knowledge before we inevitably meet in combat. Bold assumption. Murmurs rippled through the gathering. No delegate had offered such abbreviated responses to Braxthorne. Most species understood the social protocol. When an apex predator speaks, prey listens attentively. You doubt my assessment? Braxthorne's secondary heart activated, pumping combat hormones into his bloodstream. His dermal plating flushed crimson. Perhaps humans lack basic pattern recognition. Check historical records. My ancestors conquered 17 systems before achieving spaceflight. The human sipped water. Technologically advanced species rarely require conquest. Cooperation yields superior outcomes with fewer resource expenditures. Braxthorne leaned closer, towering over the human. Your attitude borders on offensive. Does your species possess no survival instinct? We survive adequately. Not in combat situations. Tournament statistics indicate humans historically withdraw before elimination rounds conclude. For the first time, something flickered across the human's expression. Not fear, something adjacent to amusement. Historical precedent sometimes requires updating, she remarked. Professor Exel intervened, sensing escalation. Tournament regulations prohibit pre-competition confrontations, Delegate Braxthorne. Merely professional discourse. Braxthorne stepped back, upper mandibles clicking rhythmically. Anthropological research. Humans apparently consider themselves competent, despite physiological evidence. A melodic chime indicated the gathering's conclusion. Delegates moved toward private preparation chambers. The upcoming matches demanded focus, meditation, or whatever species-specific rituals preceded combat. The human departed without ceremony, leaving confused silence in her wake. Peculiar behavior, noted Ambassador Trill to Zethvox. Most newcomers exhibit appropriate deference or compensatory aggression. This one displays neither. Perhaps humans communicate primarily through non-verbal means, suggested Zell. Limited facial musculature compared to most sentient species. Subtle expressions might escape notice. Braxthorne snorted again. Nothing subtle about incompetence. Tomorrow's matches will establish natural hierarchy. Later, surveillance monitors captured unusual activity in the unoccupied combat arena. The human walked the perimeter methodically, occasionally stopping to examine floor panels, wall junctions, and atmospheric vents. She moved with purpose, occasionally crouching to test surface texture or structural integrity. From the control center, Combat Master Zethvox observed this curious behavior. Analysis, he asked the Academy AI. Unknown behavior pattern, possible environmental familiarization ritual. Alternative hypothesis. Subject appears to be measuring dimensions, identifying acoustic properties, and locating structural weak points. Zethvox contemplated this information. Interesting approach for someone with minimal combat potential. Assessment parameters may require adjustment, suggested the AI. Let's wait for empirical evidence before revising protocols, replied Zethvox. Theory without demonstration remains speculation. The monitors showed the human completing her circuit of the arena before departing toward the dormitory level. No notes taken, no recording devices used, just observation followed by silent departure. Tomorrow would provide answers. Competition always revealed truth. Tournament day transformed the academy. Observation decks filled with diplomatic representatives, senior combat instructors, and classification specialists eager to document new fighting techniques. Species without formal representation sent digital observers, their consciousness temporarily housed in hovering sensor arrays. The first matches unfolded with predictable brutality. Delegate Foros discovered precisely how accurately Vraxthorn had assessed crystalline weaknesses. The match ended in 14 seconds, with a resonant crack that silenced the observation deck. Structural reconfiguration initiated, announced the medical AI as maintenance drones collected glittering shards. Contestant viable for reconstruction. Ambassador Trill dispatched her opponent through biochemical means, secreting a paralytic compound that dropped the unfortunate combatant before physical contact occurred. Resourceful strategy, commented Professor Zell to a neighboring observer, though some might consider chemical warfare conceptually unsportsmanlike. Victory transcends methodology, replied the observer, a gelatinous mass whose translator rendered perfect diplomatic speech, despite lacking vocal apparatus. Though admittedly lacks dramatic presentation. The arena reset for the third match, the human versus Moorshal, a quadrupedal mammalian with reflexes quick enough to dodge energy weapons. Projected outcome? Asked Combat Master Zethvox. The Academy AI calculated briefly. 97% probability favoring Delegate Moorshal. Human competitor possesses insufficient mass, reach, or defensive adaptations. Moorshal entered first, performing the traditional circular sprint that displayed his species' remarkable agility. His fur rippled with bioelectric current, generating appreciative murmurs from the audience. The human walked in without ceremony, wearing standard academy training attire, no visible weapons, armor, or technological enhancements. She took position at her designated starting mark and waited. "Commence," announced Zevvox. Mashal became a blur, circling his opponent with increasing speed. Standard mammalian predator strategy. Disorient prey before striking. The human remained stationary, tracking movement with minimal head rotation. "Calculating attack vector," muttered an observer. "Futile against superior processing speed." Merzel charged suddenly, his trajectory a perfect intercept course. The crowd leaned forward collectively. The human sidestepped at the last possible microsecond. Not a dramatic leap or defensive roll, just precisely enough movement to avoid impact. Murshal compensated instantly, twisting mid-charge to slash with extended claws. His attack met empty air. Again the human had shifted, this time ducking under the attack with millimeters to spare. No wasted motion, no unnecessary distance, pure efficiency. Bjol growled, rippling with frustration. 3 more attacks followed, each anticipated with the same economical movement. The 4th pass brought him dangerously close to the arena wall. Then something unexpected happened. The human moved toward Moorshal rather than away. "Tactical error," announced several observers simultaneously. The human planted her foot precisely where Moorshal needed to place his for his turning maneuver. Physics took command. Momentum carried the predator forward while his paw met unexpected resistance. His graceful charge transformed into an ungainly tumble directly into the arena wall. "Delegate Moorshal, combat ineffective," declared the system. "Victory to human delegate through tactical superiority." Stunned silence gripped the observation deck. "Luck," proclaimed a reptilian delegate finally. Random chance. The human exited without celebrating, checking something on her wrist device. 5 more matches passed before the human competed again. Her second opponent, a modified combat drone representing a machine intelligence collective, deployed a suppression field designed to overwhelm organic nervous systems. The human responded by precisely calculating the drone's operational radius, remaining perpetually at its edge while systematically removing external sensor arrays. Without data collection, the drone executed increasingly desperate attack patterns until overextending into a maintenance port on the arena floor. Emergency shutdown followed. By midday, the tournament field narrowed to 8 competitors. Vraxthorn continued his dominance, dispatching opponents with increasingly creative demonstrations of evolutionary superiority. The human advanced through methodical analysis and exploitation of environmental factors. The algorithm projects they will meet in the final match, observed Professor Zell, reviewing tournament progression data. Zathos frowned. Unprecedented. No human has progressed beyond quarter-finals in Academy history. Perhaps we misinterpreted their evolutionary strategy, suggested Zell. Their approach appears counterintuitive yet effective. Between matches, Ambassador Trill approached the human in the preparation chamber. Your techniques fascinate me, she chittered politely. They seem defensive, yet yield offensive results. The human secured her footwear, checking the grip pattern. Conservation of energy, minimum necessary force. Our analysts predicted Vraxthorn would eliminate you within seconds. Analysts operate on available data. Limited data set produces flawed conclusions. You believe you can defeat an apex predator? The human stood, stretching methodically. Apex predators possess specific advantages within their evolutionary context. She left the sentence unfinished. Vraxthorn entered the chamber, fresh from his semi-final victory. Fluorescent blood, not his own, still coated his claws. He approached with practiced intimidation posture. Final pairing confirmed, he announced. Any preferences regarding medical treatment after our match? Your species requires extensive cellular regeneration, correct? The human checked her chronometer. Match begins in 43 minutes. Psychological warfare proves inefficient use of preparation time. Vraxthorn laughed, a sound resembling grinding metal. Not warfare, professional courtesy. I respect your unexpected progress. Thank you. You misunderstand. I respect determination, despite biological inadequacy. Your defeat will be educational for future human participants. The human finally looked directly at him. You assume inevitable victory based on physical parameters? Evolutionary facts, corrected Vraxthorn. My ancestors hunted prey across radioactive wastelands. Yours gathered fruit. Technically, we did both. Vraxthorn blinked, momentarily confused by the response. The human used his hesitation to exit the chamber, leaving both competitors watching her departure. Unusual specimen, noted Ambassador Trill. Prey often develop strange behaviors before inevitable consumption, replied Vraxthorn. Denial manifests diversely across species. Yet the predator's secondary heart beat slightly faster than regulations permitted during rest periods, triggering a minor medical alert on his biometric monitor. The Academy's central arena underwent reconfiguration for the final match. Combat Master Zethvox authorized enhanced environmental variables. Atmospheric pressure fluctuations, gravity wells, and thermal vents activated at random intervals. Final matches traditionally tested adaptability alongside combat prowess. Attendance exceeds capacity, reported the administrative AI. 17 diplomatic vessels requested emergency docking permissions. Zethvox surveyed the packed observation decks. Unexpected interest in an expected outcome. Professor Zell adjusted his analytical instruments. Perhaps, though betting algorithms show fascinating shifts, the human now carries 38% favorable odds. Gambling reflects psychology, not reality, dismissed Zethvox, though admittedly conventional assessment metrics appear inadequate for this particular specimen. The combatants entered simultaneously from opposite sides. Vaxthorn performed his species' traditional pre-combat display, expanding dorsal plating, extending all forearms to maximum reach, and emitting a subsonic growl that vibrated the deck plates. Biochemical enhancers pumped through specialized glands, temporarily boosting muscle density by 22%. The human performed stretching exercises. Match parameters established, announced Zethvox through the announcement system. Victory through submission, incapacitation, or tactical superiority. Medical intervention protocols active. Begin when ready. Vaxthorn assumed hunting posture, weight balanced perfectly, secondary limbs positioned for grappling, while primary arms remained free for striking. Your species possesses combat philosophy, yes? Final words before demonstration of evolutionary hierarchy. The human completed her stretches. Physics applies equally to all species. Philosophy fails against biology, countered Vaxthorn, circling slowly. My reaction time exceeds yours by factor of 3. My structural density withstands 5 times standard gravitational force. My sensory processing provides excellent data about environments resembling your home world, interrupted the human. Less relevant here. Vaxthorn lunged, not his full attack but a testing strike. The human pivoted, allowing momentum to carry his extended arm past its intended target. The movement placed her temporarily within reach of his secondary arms, a tactical error no experienced combatant would make. His grappling limbs seized empty air. The human had dropped flat, sliding beneath his guard, and past his position entirely. Vaxthorn spun with practiced precision. Evasion merely delays outcome. Conserves energy, replied the human, now positioned near a thermal vent. You expend approximately 800 calories per offensive sequence. Unsustainable rate. The observation deck erupted with murmurs. Is she attempting psychological warfare? Asked Ambassador Trill. Negative, replied Professor Zell. Factual assessment based on metabolic readings. Vaxthorn attacked. Properly this time. Full commitment, all forearms coordinated in attack patterns proven effective against 26 different species. The human responded with minimal movement again, each evasion placing Vaxthorn closer to environmental hazards. A gravity fluctuation field activated beneath his left foot. A thermal vent timed perfectly with his recovery step. Atmospheric pressure differential detected, warned his biomonitor implant. Vaxthorn snarled, recalibrating. Coincidental environmental factors, probability favors. Nothing, countered the human. Probability merely calculates uncertainty. I examined this arena for 47 minutes yesterday, mapped variations, documented cycles. For the first time, unease crossed Vaxthorn's features. Impossible. Pattern recognition requires computational. Pattern recognition constitutes fundamental human survival trait, interrupted the human. We evolved tracking prey across shifting terrain without physical advantages. We developed meteorology before spaceflight. We predict behavioral patterns instinctively. The human tapped her wrist device. Immediately, a gravity well activated directly beneath Vaxthorn. momentarily increasing local gravitational pull by 200%. He compensated instinctively, powerful limbs absorbing the change, which left him unprepared when atmospheric pressure simultaneously dropped by 30% around his respiratory inhalation chambers. Gasping, off balance, he failed to notice the human's approach until her hand clamped precisely over the nerve cluster where his secondary heart connected to his central nervous system. Applied pressure, precise angle, minimum necessary force. Vraxthorn collapsed, nervous system temporarily overloaded by contradictory signals. Delegate Vraxthorn, combat ineffective, declared the system. Victory to human delegate through incapacitation. Silence gripped the observation deck, broken only by medical drones retrieving the fallen champion. The human checked her chronometer, then addressed the stunned audience. Apex predators evolve specific advantages within stable environments. Humans evolved, creating advantages within unstable ones. Professor X found his voice first. You memorized environmental hazard patterns specifically to neutralize his biological advantages. But tournament parameters randomize hazard activation, protested Zethvox. The human displayed her wrist device. Software patch accessing arena controls required 17 seconds to deploy. Your systems prioritize medical monitoring over security protocols. Ambassador Trill chittered in astonishment. You hacked Academy systems during combat? Before combat, corrected the human. Victory requires preparation. Technology constitutes evolutionary advantage, just as claws or enhanced metabolism. Medical technicians revived Vraxthorn, who regained consciousness with admirable composure. He regarded the human with newfound wariness. Your species conceals unexpected capabilities. No concealment, misclassification. The human extended a hand, a gesture incomprehensible to most delegates present. Apex predators dominate through force. Humans survive through adaptation. Zethvox descended from the observation deck, security drones hovering nearby. Accessing Academy systems violates Regulation 27. Regulation 27 prohibits external communication devices and weaponry, countered the human. My device contains neither. Programming Academy systems using Academy-issued equipment demonstrates resourcefulness, not rule violation. The Combat Master paused, reviewing regulations. Finding no applicable violation, he announced reluctantly, Tournament Champion, Human Delegate. Later, as delegates prepared for departure, Professor Zell cornered the victorious human. Your strategy reveals something profound about your species. You fight like prey, not predators. The human packed her minimal belongings. Predator-prey dichotomy oversimplifies evolutionary development. Perhaps, conceded Zell. Though your approach suggests unique perspective. Most species consider weakness something to overcome through strength. You weaponized understanding weakness itself. Humans never became strongest, fastest, or most durable, explained a human, closing her case. We survived by understanding limitations, ours and others, then working within them. The most dangerous opponent isn't the strongest predator, but the prey that learned to hunt. As the human departed, Zell updated Academy classification protocols. Under humans, he modified their threat assessment from minimal to contextual, adding a single advisory note. Beware species that evolved understanding weakness as thoroughly as others evolved avoiding it.